We will begin in approximately 3 minutes. One board member is running just a little late in traffic.
No, you can sit. You can sit.
How are you doing?
I'm
Good to
fine.
see you.
Good to see you too. How have things been? Good. Good morning.
Bobby. How are things? Look, it's a work in progress.
Of course.
One of the things we've really just been focusing on is, touring.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I thought, what about that? I don't know if you want me to raise it or not raise it. I mean, for your sake. I was just reviewing the data report, which is what we're doing today. I just thought that the recommendation, the complaint is always isolated in a moment in time.
Yeah.
But the recommendation should be about generalized touring.
Well, and we're still kind of going through those recommendations. I mean, a lot of them are,
Okay, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's,
No,
I agree with
but
you.
I
That-
think, but it's not just, it's everyone.
Oh.
Staff recognizing that, right? Because now
Yeah.
all the leadership, they're touring, everybody's
Oh,
touring.
that makes so much difference.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does, it does. I mean, that's tired, but.
No, but I'm saying if we're
Yeah.
asking our staff to do that.
No,
then
no,
we
no,
should be doing
absolutely,
it.
absolutely.
Uh,
So you have a schedule?
It goes out every 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And we have approximately about 70 people touring.
All right. Oh, perfect.
But in addition to, some other things that we're doing, but I think that's where it starts, right? That's our.
I agree.
that's
I
our
thought
foundation.
that was what, I mean, that's always the case, right?
Isn't there a switch?
You know. Okay, he's back. How you doing? What happened to Thompson?
He wants.
Yeah.
Well,
No, well, don't put him right, put him someplace else.
I'm like, why am I getting all this, like, all this work? I moved from Pasadena.
No, you put him wherever you, wherever you.
That's not what he. Oh, okay. I'm sure. No problem.
Wherever you.
I put him where.
And when you. That.
Okay.
And I need to talk to you personally later on. Not today, but maybe I'll give you a couple or something.
Okay. no
I'll
problem.
text you and then I'll call you.
Yes.
But anyway.
Thank you. Oh. Good to see you. It's always a pleasure. How are you?
How are you?
How's it going? Good.
Always.
My name is Chelsea. I'm Allie's Tucker's baby. Chelsea.
Chelsea,
Yes.
oh, okay.
But Allie's out.
It's like.
Oh, well.
Just 6
Good afternoon. We have a quorum of members present this afternoon, and the New York City Board of Correction, May 14th, 2024 meeting is now in session. Our first order of business is a vote on the agenda for today's board meeting, which board members have received. Will a board member move for a vote to approve the May 14th, 2024 meeting agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Does any member have any edits or comments on the agenda?
I do. I would move to add a motion of the rulemaking committee that was formed at our last meeting to move forward with the board's rulemaking pursuant to the requirements of local law 42 to the agenda.
Okay, if there are no objections to the amendment, it shall be added.
Thank you.
All in favor of approving the May 14th, 2024 agenda? Say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? It is approved. Our second order of business is a vote on the draft minutes for the March 12th, 2024 board meeting. Which board members have received? Will a board member move for a vote to approve the March 12th, 2024 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Does any member have edits or comments on the minutes? All in favor of approving the March 12th, 24 board meeting minutes, say aye. Any objections? One abstention. They are approved and duly ratified. Just my brief comments. I'd like to acknowledge and thank a former board member, Dr. Rachel Bedard, for her service to the Board of Corrections. She has resigned from the board effective May 9th, 2024. She was very integral in a number of the committees to the board. But wish her well in a number of the endeavors that she has before to come. I'll turn it over to our executive director at this time.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'll start with a brief update on items that were discussed at previous meetings. Regarding sick call, as a follow-up to discussions at the November and January board meetings, DOC, CHS, and BOC staff convened in March to address lingering questions regarding compliance with the board's minimum standards on sick call. Additionally, to evaluate compliance with the board's minimum standards and enhance sick call operations, BOC's research team requested and received certain phone call and appointment data from DOC. This data has facilitated the compilation of comprehensive aggregate statistics on people in custody who requested sick call, were seen for sick call, missed appointments, and reasons for missed appointments. The research team will engage DOC and CHS in reviewing these preliminary results and will share our findings at a later public board meeting. The board is optimistic that these findings will inform the development of a more comprehensive sick call process with improved tracking. Regarding linen and uniform exchange, since our January 2024 public meeting, the board has continued to monitor personal hygiene concerns submitted by people in custody, staff, and outside agencies. Over the past few months, the department has improved by distributing some personal hygiene products throughout facilities. We're still waiting for the department to confirm if the equipment has been repaired, replaced, or upgraded at several facilities. However, we do have updates for a few of the facilities. As of April 9th, 2024, maintenance installed 1 washer and 1 dryer in the closed box area near the dorms and intake at OBCC. The RNDC closed box has seen a decrease in shift reductions during the week. Shift reductions are primarily impacted on the weekends. It's reported that the closed box has 2 tours, a 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. tour with 2 steady officers, and a 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. tour, also staffed with 2 steady officers. At EMTC, as of April 15th, 2024, 2 washers and 2 dryers are operable. Other machines in the area need repair. We've not received an update for the remaining jails and will continue to monitor these issues and report back. We also previously discussed BOC's methods for receiving complaints. So I just wanted to give some reminders on how people can submit complaints to the board. People in custody, members of the public, and DOC staff may submit complaints to BOC concerning jail conditions or access to health or mental health care in the NYC jails. You can call BOC at 212-669-7900 or send a fax to 212-669-7980. You can file a complaint online through our website, and you can mail a letter or you can visit our offices located at 2 Lafayette Street, Suite 1221, New York, New York, 10007. People in custody or DOC staff may also speak with a BOC monitor while they're touring the jails. Additionally, people in custody may submit public comment to be replayed at board meetings by calling and leaving a voicemail at least 1 week before the board meeting at 212-266-4320 for English or 212-266-4321 for Spanish. Next, we share our deepest condolences with the families of department staff who have passed since the board's March meeting. The staff who have passed are retired officer George Negron, retired officer Darrell William Grant Sr., retired officer Ernestine Whiteman, retired officer Albert Joseph Wilkinson, retired officer Donald Glenn Branch, retired Captain James W. Brown, retired Captain Shirley Branch, retired officer Jacqueline Antonia Alden, retired officer Michael Jackson, retired officer Angel Luis Vasquez, and retired officer Belinda Robertson, as well as retired officer James Irving Thomason. The board also expresses condolences to the family and loved ones of Mr. Roy Savage. Mr. Savage, age 51, died in Bellevue Hospital Prison Ward on March 22nd, 2024. Mr. Savage was transferred to Bellevue Hospital in November of 2023 from Albany Medical Center Hospital. DOC records show he never left the hospital following his admission. Mr. Savage had been receiving care for a terminal illness while in custody. Given that, the board will not issue a public report on his death. Next, an update on census data. I'm sorry, before I move on to census data, I'm going to pass it to board member Dr. Cohen for a statement that he wanted to make.
A colleague of ours, a senior attorney at Prisoners' Rights Project for over 30 years, Jonathan Chasen, who brought Nunez, who was the lead attorney on Nunez, died this weekend. And I just wanted to let people know there'll be a funeral on Thursday. If anybody needs details, please contact me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, on census data, as of May 1st, 2024, there were approximately 6,310 individuals in department custody. Broken down by facility, as of May 1st, in Bellevue Hospital Prison Ward, there were 52 people in custody. In Elmhurst Hospital Prison Ward, 7. EMTC 1,389, GRVC 958, and NIC 274, OBCC 1,432, and RESH 159, RMSC 370, in RNDC 1,001, and in West Facility 666. Next, I have an update regarding reporting. The board's Committee on Deaths, Near Deaths, and Serious Injuries issued its latest report on deaths in custody on Friday, May 3rd, 2024. The report includes the Special Investigation Unit's findings and recommendations regarding the deaths of Chima Williams and Manuel Luna. The Office of the Chief Medical Examiner has a full report on BOC's website and our LinkedIn page. Regarding PREA reporting, board staff continue to actively examine and monitor the department's compliance with the board's rules on the elimination of sexual abuse and sexual harassment in the city's jails. As part of this work, board staff have been in frequent communication with the department and are conducting ongoing fact-finding and information gathering to inform future public reporting on several critical PREA-related focus areas, including the department's responses and investigations into allegations of sexual abuse and harassment made by people in custody. Additionally, BOC's research and monitoring teams will be monitoring conditions in the jails between Memorial Day and Labor Day to assess the department's heat mitigation policies and procedures, and we'll be publishing our findings in the fall in a BOC heat report. And that concludes the BOC staff updates.
Can I ask a question, Jasmine? Do you have any idea, or have you discussed with corrections why the population has risen dramatically, as you described?
Let's hold that until the department is presenting their report. Thank you. Our next order of business is an update from Vice Chair Hoskins regarding the rulemaking committee.
Thank you. The Rulemaking Committee has drafted proposed rules to implement the requirements of Local Law 42. The rules will be published in the City Record on Thursday, May 16th, 2024, and a hearing on the proposed rules will be held on Monday, June 17th, 2024. Under the Charter and the Board's resolution establishing the Rulemaking Committee, the Rulemaking Committee members must now vote on a resolution approving the proposed rules and authorizing their publication. Jasmine will read the resolution into the record, and then I will administer a roll call vote as chair of the Rulemaking Committee.
The proposed resolution of the board's rulemaking committee reads as follows. Whereas New York City Charter, Section 626, Subdivision E, authorizes the Board of Correction to establish minimum standards for the care, custody, correction, treatment, supervision, and discipline of all persons held or confined under the jurisdiction of the Department of Correction. Whereas on January 30th, 2024, the New York City Council passed Local Law Number 42 of 2024, banning the use of solitary confinement in city jails, and directed the board to take any actions necessary for the implementation of this local law, including the promulgation of rules relating to procedures and penalties prior to its effective date. Whereas on March 12, 2024, a majority of the board voted to establish a rulemaking committee to review the requirements of Local Law Number 42 and draft amendments to the board's RMAS rules. Whereas on May 13, 2024, the New York City Law Department and the Mayor's Office of Operations preliminarily certified the proposed rules pursuant to Section 1043, Subdivision D1 of the Citywide Administrative Procedure Act. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board's rulemaking committee approves the proposed rules and authorizes the board's general counsel and executive director or their designee to publish the proposed rules forthwith in the city record. And it is further and finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be posted conspicuously on the board website.
Jasmine, do any committee members have any comments on the proposed resolution?
I say I strongly support this resolution. It's with the work of the city council and the public advocate and the board of correction. It reflects our concerns, and I strongly endorse it.
Assuming none, hearing none, we will move forward to a vote on the resolution. Will a committee member move to vote on this?
So moved.
Can I have a committee member second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. For the record, I would like to do a roll call vote. Ms. Sherman,
Yes.
Mr. Torchet,
Yes.
Chair Sampson, and I vote yes. By 4 yes, 3 yeses and 1 abstention, vote the resolution passes. The rules will be Follow the leader. The rules will be published in the city record on Thursday, May 16, 2024, and a public hearing for the rulemaking will be held on Monday, June 17, 2024, which is 30 days after publication.
Thank you, Chair Hoskins. Excuse me. Thank you, Chair Hoskins. In consideration of the rulemaking requirements and deadlines, we will move our June board meeting to June 25th, 2024. I repeat, we will move our June meeting to June 25th, 2024. Final rules should be prepared for a full board meeting or vote on June 25th, 2024. We will now hear pre-recorded anonymous public comment from people in custody.
The most important thing about Rikers Island is violence, of course. And the reason why this is so violent at this place is because if an inmate attacks another inmate, there's nothing that is done about it. Actually, the violent inmate who attacked the other inmate, nothing happens to him. They'll take the inmate that gets attacked and move that inmate when they should be moving the inmate that did the violence. And then, like in my incident, I was attacked by another inmate. I was sitting down playing chess, and the inmate came running over and he punched me in my eye, and he broke the bones in my eye socket and my skull, and I had a lot of bleeding on the brain, and I have double vision because of that. Severe pain, and I can't get any help for this. And the worst part about this is the inmate who did the assault, nothing has happened. Like he's just been allowed to get away with it. And then they actually kept him. They moved him to another unit upstairs, and he was still threatening me. Here it is. He just violently attacked me. Nothing was done, and he continues to threaten me. Eventually, they moved him out of the jail. But I've been trying to get the video for from the attack, and I can't seem to get any help with that. And another problem is when something happens to me to undress so he could take pictures of my tattoos. He took the pictures and he emailed the pictures to New York. He took some pictures down by my groin area. He told me to drop my pants, and he took the pictures down there. And the pictures themselves that proof that he, forced me to undress. And he did this in the video conferencing room where there's a camera present. You're not supposed to force inmates to dress in front of a camera. Also, in this NYC jail, they keep calling the law library and recreation at the same time. Like today, they called them both together, and I went to recreation, so I didn't get any law library time. Last week, The whole week I only got 2 law library sessions. And the problem is with the guard. The guard who works there, he doesn't like to be in the law library. She likes to have the inmates in and get them out as soon as possible. This allows her to float around for the rest of the day and have the rest of the day free. So like she'll never give makeup time. Like I've been trying to say, well, I missed this morning, but you can let me go this afternoon. But of course, she doesn't want. Also, when I make the city council says a long message. It's like a 2-minute message. It says it's a fraud call and it's a call from Rikers Island Jail. And if you're a lawyer, they can shorten that message. I don't know. Hello, my name is. The director of public accountability and oversight. We spoke on the issues the RBC has and fails to fix. Take a shower curtains are home shower stream that we made out of sheets. There's mildew in the showers due to lack of ventilation. Mildew where the food warmer is. There's no ventilation where the food warmer is, causing fire alarms to go off and search to be conducted. There is a hole in the ground by the warmer filled with vermin cockroaches, and they covered it, but bugs still come out. Our cleaning and hygiene supplies are not afforded to us when they run out. We do not have proper amount of cleaning utensils. The heater on the bottom tier doesn't work, and there is no supervision with cleaning by staff, so it's never done properly, if done at all. These are just some of the problems that have been going on in my housing area and other housing areas located in GRBC. So I just want to shine the light on that a little bit so we can possibly get something done about this. Thank you.
The caller has hung up.
And we haven't had a lot of problems that are not being dealt with how they should be. We don't have access to the pantry. Our food warmer is placed incorrectly and is surrounded by roaches and mildew. There is mildew in the shower, drop sink, and where the food warmer is. There's a lot of there's a whole field of roaches, and they try to cover it with metal plate with holes in it so the roaches will come out through. We run out of razors, soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, sponges, a birthing pad, and the mom had too fast, and they aren't supplied as needed. We don't have cleaning supplies like mop sticks or shower brushes. The cleaning isn't supervised by staff, so it don't get done properly at all. The heater is in the bottom. The heater in the bottom tier don't work. This is what GRBC has been going through, and I think it's time for a change. Hashtag ITIPFAC. Thank you.
The caller has hung up.
Hello, my name is Park. Items that are not being dealt with how they should be. They don't have access to the pantry. 1, 2, our food warmer is placed incorrectly and surrounded by roaches and mildew. There's mildew in the showers, the stop sink, and where the food warmer is. There's a hole with roaches. They try to cover with a metal plate with holes in it, so roaches still come through the metal plate and the metal plate next to the warmer. We run out of razors, soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, sponges, a breakfast pad, and mop pads, toothpads, and they're supplies as fast as we need them. We don't have cleaning supplies like mop sticks and shower brushes. The cleaning kit supervised by staff, so it doesn't get done properly at all. The heaters in the bottom tier don't work. This is what GRBC has been going through, and I think it's time for a change. Thank you. My name is. Thank you.
The caller has hung up.
well, thank the PICs who called in for public comment. Just a little off script. It appears that a number of comments come from a particular housing area, GRVC. I will personally look to try to visit GRVC tomorrow. So if any board members and staff who, would like to visit, please let me know. Just seems like a lot of concerns by one unit. Mhm.
I agree, Chair Sampson, but these were recorded complaints. How long ago were they recorded, and has there been any response besides your plan to go out tomorrow?
We can ask that question to the department when they're
Well, we got the complaints. Did we relay them to the department, or did our staff?
Jasmine respond to that in a second.
Yes, Dr. Yes, our staff is staffed at GRVC. They receive complaints. I actually went out to GRVC last week and heard the same issues, and we have spoken with facility leadership and continue to work jointly with DOC to try and address the issues. And so one of the ways to elevate the issue is for people in custody to be able to call, and for the public to hear about it and for the board members to hear about it. The chair just said he's going to go out tomorrow. So I'm sure the people in custody will appreciate his presence, and any other board members who are present and listening to the issues to address them.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we will now turn to DOC for updates on items listed on the agenda. Jasmine will provide background on the substantive issues, followed by responses from DOC executive staff.
Thank you. The board has asked the department to share updates regarding its efforts to implement the recommendations issued by the board through its deaths in custody reporting and any impediments to implementation. Specifically, the board has asked the department to address recommendations concerning timely notification of deaths and other reportable incidents to the Central Operations Desk, increase in number of staff assigned to the video monitoring unit to properly supervise all areas where people in custody are held proportionate to the census, scheduling of recertification trainings to ensure staff are up to date with certifications and properly trained to respond to incidents, improvement of medical escort practices, including maximizing staff availability in certain posts to ensure that patients are seen for their scheduled appointments without undue delays, even when there are no acute concerns. Regular contraband search schedules and immediate notification to tour commanders when the presence or use of contraband is observed, removal of all cell window obstructions, and timely and accurate documentation of relevant information in electronic rather than paper logbooks and other agency databases. And I'll turn it over to the department to give their updates on the topic.
Yes, good afternoon. Before we give updates, I just wanted to give just sort of like a general update because we've not been before the board since March. So good afternoon, members of the board. Before we begin, I want to thank the board for acknowledging the retired members of service whom we have lost since our last meeting. The department joins the board in extending our sympathy to the loved ones of all who have passed and for once again, thanking these beloved members of the Boldest family for their service. I want to take this opportunity to briefly highlight what's been happening at the Department of Corrections since we last met on March 12th. To celebrate Women's History Month and all of the powerful women who work at DOC, the department held its second annual Women's Conference on March 14th. This year's program was entitled Stepping Boldly into the Future by Leading the Way, and workshops on emotional intelligence and well-being, staff recognition, and an extended conversation between myself, former Commissioner Jacqueline McMickens, and Chief Sherry Ann Rembert, who is also here today. Women make up nearly half of the department's workforce, and this forum provides a valuable opportunity for our female staff to come together, reflect on the unique challenges we face as women in law enforcement, and celebrate each other and our collective achievements. The department also celebrated its inaugural Women's Day Conference for women in custody at the Rosensinger Center. The event, entitled Empower Her, concentrated on the common ground shared between everyone who lives and works at RMSC and provided opportunities for persons in custody and staff to engage together with interactive sessions of fine arts, meditation, entrepreneurship education, and more. This event was embarked upon as a result of conversations that me and FDC Torres had with board member Pitts, and we were proud to see it come to fruition. I intend to see both events grow and flourish in the years to come. Speaking of the work that we are doing at RMSC, just last week, we opened a family-friendly interactive visitation space in RMASC, designed in collaboration with the Children's Museum of Manhattan, CMOM. CMOM has been a longtime partner in providing innovative, family-friendly visitation opportunities for individuals in custody and their loved ones. We are very grateful for their ongoing support in this work. The interactive installations in the visit area were designed by CMOM and based on exhibits currently at the museum. They are research-based and supports preschool learning while providing fun and engaging bonding activities for mothers and their children. Incarceration can leave lasting scars on families, and my team and I are committed to lessening the impacts of incarceration wherever we can. Visitation areas like the ones provided by CMOM support parents and children in maintaining a pivotal bond and provide elements of normalcy during a challenging time. This partnership is a shining example of what we can achieve when we work together for the benefit of those in our care. I'm also excited to share another innovative partnership that benefits our workforce and those in our care. In the coming fiscal year, the city, will be partnering with Hot Bread Kitchen to develop a plant-based culinary skills course for DOC and ACS culinary staff. The skills our staff will learn, it will support them in better preparing the healthy meals we provide to people in custody. This exciting opportunity invests in the department's culinary workforce and promotes the benefits of eating healthy across our facilities. Finally, I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to give a small shout out to the recruitment campaign we've just launched. Heroes work at the Department of Correction, and we're looking for bold candidates to register for the next upcoming exam. The open registration window ends on June 6th. In closing, the department has been busy. Just last week, we celebrated National Correctional Officers and Employees Week with a full week of events to celebrate and honor our uniformed and non-uniformed staff. And I'd like to take one final opportunity in this public forum to thank them for all the work that they do. Their work is not easy and sometimes overlooked, but it's important that we lift them up and say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this update. My team and I are available to answer your questions and also to the complaints that are raised in GRVC. I too will personally tour to find out what's going on. Chief Rembert is going to be discussing the comments on the death report. So Chief Rembert.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. I am Sherry Ann Rembert, Assistant Chief at the New York City Department of Corrections. To start, we share the board's commitment to ensuring that New York City jails are safe and humane. We want everyone to return to their loved ones and communities safe and whole, and wholeheartedly believe that one death in custody is one too many. In response to these incidents, and in line with recommendations issued through the board's various death reports, the department has implemented a number of changes and improvements to policies and procedures to operational areas such as access to medical care, contraband interdiction, response to overdose incidents, and reinforcing or improving basic correctional practices. And I will detail some of these initiatives. Following any death in custody, the Department and Correctional Health Services, CHS, conducts collaborative reviews of each incident to learn from each incident so it does not happen again. In addition to these joint assessment and review meetings, DOC and CHS meet to discuss how to improve responses to medical emergencies. We are partners in this work and we collaborate constantly on how to prevent serious incidents, as well as how to improve access to much needed medical and mental health services for those in our care. Every day, individuals are admitted into the department's custody with pre-existing medical conditions, including substance use. We recognize that these issues do not simply resolve upon intake. It is imperative that all people in custody have access to high quality medical care throughout their time in our care, and work diligently with our partners at CHS to ensure people in custody are produced to their clinic encounters if they choose to go. For those that miss a clinic encounter for any reason, DOC and CHS work together to produce that individual as quickly as possible later in the day, if possible, or the following day. The department has made great progress in ensuring that staff are available to escort individuals to their clinic encounters. In 2022, missed clinic encounters due to lack of escort accounted for roughly 5% of all clinic non-productions. In calendar year 2023, that number decreased to approximately 3% and continues to trend downward in 2024. Improvements in staff, scheduling, and deployment have contributed to more efficient staffing assignments and an increase in availability of escort officers. Individual in custody can decline to attend these clinic appointments for any reason, and this continues to be the largest category for non-production by far. The department has made several important policy and operational changes in response to opioid crisis that has impacted our communities and subsequently our jails. These efforts have focused on improving how we detect and prevent the introduction of contraband narcotics into the jails, respond to suspected overdose incidents, and support individuals in our care who struggle with substance misuse. The department takes proactive measures to detect and seize contraband before it enters our facility. In March 2023, the department installed its first L3-9 ionizing body scanner at the front gate of RNDC to detect and deter the introduction of contraband. This project continues to expand with additional body scanners now installed at OBCC and EMTC, and plans for each remaining facility in progress. We have also implemented various technological advances to detect contraband narcotics entering through the mail and to detect and locate cell phones and other devices. In addition, various types of searches, including tactical search operations, facility searches, and area searches are conducted at regular intervals to remove dangerous contraband that has entered the facilities. These searches can be scheduled or random and unscheduled so that individuals do not make attempt to prevent seizure of contraband. Searches can be conducted following an incident or in response to an emergency. Calendar year to date, DOC has made 1,048 contraband discoveries from various search operations. The K9 unit, which currently has 42 canines, is also integral in supporting targeted searches following actual or suspected overdose occurrences. Over half of the canine currently assigned to the unit have been trained to detect fentanyl, and we are continuously working to further train and enhance their capabilities. In the case of an actual or suspected overdose event, officers activate a medical emergency, obtain doses of Narcan from the aid station or other demarcated locations, and administer as needed and CPR as needed. All uniformed staff receive instructions in Narcan at the Correction Academy, and we are proud to report that over 90% of our uniformed staff are trained on the use of Narcan. Our partners at Correctional Health Services supply the department with Narcan for the court commands and transportation division, as well as housing area posts. Location where Narcan is kept are marked and made known to staff and people in custody. The department has taken steps to procure Narcan for all staff who work with people in custody so that they can carry it on their person. This is still a work in progress, and we're happy to keep the board updated as the project moves forward. Ultimately, the department goal is to provide support for people in custody who are found to be misusing substances to prevent overdose in the first place. The department works close in partnership with Correctional Health Services to provide individuals access to programs, services, and specialized housing area that support recovery. In addition, the department includes substance misuse programming as a part of approved new needs requests for the coming fiscal year. This new programming will increase the provision of substance use education, support groups, as well as support transition planning specific to substance misuse. Finally, the department remains focused on ensuring uniformed staff constantly follow policy and utilize best practices and safety and security to keep everyone who lives and works in our jails safe. Correction officers receive instructions in an extensive range of topics during recruit training. However, we are committed to providing staff with refreshing training to ensure they can perform their duties effectively. Refresher and recertification trainings are announced via teletype and scheduled by a schedule management and redeployment team in conjunction with the training division, which supports the uniform workforce with more efficient and strategic scheduling. We continue to address staff deficiencies related to locking cell doors and removing window obstructions through supervisory tours and security briefings. We recognize that there's always more work to be done to ensure that jails are safe and more humane, and are committed to that work. We appreciate this opportunity to share on our progress as well as on the board's partnership in these efforts. My colleagues and I are available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yes, any board members have questions for the department? Dr. Cohen and Ms. Sherman?
Thank you very much. I have several questions. You said there's no scanner GRBC yet. Is that right?
No, that's in, we're breaking ground for GRVC at this time.
Is every every correction officer scanned when they enter the facility?
Anyone who walks into our buildings and our facilities are scanned. as far as with the L3 non-ionizing scanner is randomized.
Why is that?
Well, the LG it's a non-iodizing body scanner that picks up metallic and non-metallic objects. It's a machine that we use. It's randomized for various, it could be 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10. We do use at that front gate our bignometers to go to all the anything that the person will have on them to go through the equipment. We use that, but we don't use the L3 for every single person that comes in our building.
Yeah, I visited one of the facilities where the L3 was in use, and there was a randomizing system you had, whether there were cards, red light, green lights came up. I do not understand why every person entering the jails is not scanned in this with the best system that you have available, because as you know, as you've reported, and certainly it's been reported widely, certainly during the period when visitors were not allowed in the jails, there was a substantial amount of narcotics brought into the jails, and overdoses continued. So your staff, understandably, as in every other jail and prison in the country, are part of the process of bringing drugs into the jails. I don't understand why everyone is not scanned with the best technology that you have available.
Thank you for the question. There's various methods that we use in order to secure our facilities. The L3 scan is not just one method we use. We use several methods, such as starting from contraband entering into our facilities. Start with the mail room with our K9. As I stated before, our K9s, they're 42. They start with detecting contraband, starting with our mail room. After that, we enter into the facilities where we have K9, we have the targeted searches, we have random searches. We also have random searches as well as gown searches. We use CIB, which is our Correctional Intelligence Bureau. We also use the front gate as a way. We do random searches. There's a lot of searches that we do. But before, I just want to turn to 1 second to get you all the searches. You give me a minute.
Okay.
While you're searching your notes, I have to sort of concur with, I don't know if I could ever say concur with Dr. Cohen, but we are concurring here. Why, into really a direct question, why is that L3 scanner not being used 100%, or why is it random?
So it's also a timing issue, right? If everybody were to go through the L3 scanner coming in to post, it can create sort of like a backlog getting people to post. So when we initially rolled it out, that was the thought process in terms of utilizing a randomizer. We're continuing to look at it. We're continuing to sort of evaluate how we're going to roll this out. But I can tell you initially that was the thought, because if there's a hit, there's a search, there's a process that we need to follow. And so in order to ensure that people are getting to post and ensuring that they're looking and taking care of people in our care, that was the thought process. We're continuing to discuss internally, and we're happy to provide the board with updates as we come with them, as we're providing them.
Thank you, Commissioner. That makes tremendous sense. We'll go to Ms. Sherman and then Ms. Haas.
Yeah, I have a related question. I wanted, Commissioner, thank you so much for the updates that you provided at the top, both the hot bread kitchen and the family-friendly children's visitation space sound like really promising programs, and I look forward to hearing more about them and hopefully seeing them in action soon. I wanted to ask sort of a follow-up question from Dr. Cohn and the chair's questions about the scanner. And my question is, have you been, since you implemented the scanner and the randomized scans, have you been tracking the results contraband identified hits and whether the hits by the scanners translate to, after a search, translate to identification of contraband. And if so, whatever information you're able to share now and following up from this meeting, I think would be very helpful to help us further understand how effective this tool is and to further weigh in on how to expand its use.
Yes, we'll give you a follow-up on that as far as how many hits. I don't have that information right now.
Thank you. I, I appreciate the update on the scanner, and I've always been amazed coming to New York, having been in prisons, jails across this country, to come to New York, and this is the only correctional facility jail that I've ever walked in that everyone who enters that facility is not scanned, which typically becomes a problem. So and Commissioner, I appreciate you saying it would cause a delay in people showing up for their posts. It's part of their job. If being scanned into the correctional facility is part of your job, that means you arrive early so that you're at your post when you start. It happens across the country. So I'm always curious as when are we going to get to best practices on Rikers Island? Because no one, even us as commissioners, I should be scanned when I hit that island to ensure I'm not bringing contraband or any illegals into that facility. So I want to know, is there a plan that there's a unified system across? It doesn't matter what building you work at, what building you're going into, because we know, just like individuals who are actively in criminal activity, that if I want to bring any contraband onto a facility, all I got to do is determine what building I'm going to be in and determine how I'm going to get it in. So I guess my question is there plans to create a unified system that everybody who crosses that bridge gets scanned?
Thank you for the question. So although we're not using an L3 as the commissioner state for every person that gets scanned, but we do scan the members, and they do go through the manometer in order to detect any contraband or any other unauthorized items that brought into the facilities.
Tell me the difference in what those scans catch.
So the L3 is a non-metallic and metallic device. It detects contraband, as we know, cell phones. It detects any type of bombs. It detects unauthorized items such as drugs or anything else. And so as our magnometer, we can get to see is on the visual X-ray machine if you're bringing in anything. It would light up. We have a lighting mechanism, light up that we need to check your back for further to determine if you're bringing any unauthorized items in. So there is a difference. I understand that, across other correctional industries, they use a scanner for members of service or anyone that walks in the building. But as the commissioner stated, we'll be looking into it.
One final question is, so I understand the body scan. Do we do any type of scan of fingers to see if staff or any visitors have handled drugs prior to entering a facility?
That is our Smith Detection 600 DT scanner. That's located in our Correctional Intelligence Bureau, as well as in our mail room, as well as our visit areas.
Board Member Pitts?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. I just want to be clear for myself if I understand the process. Everyone that comes to the facility goes to the magnometer. Is that correct?
That is accurate.
Okay. And then randomly, after going through the magnometer, they go through this L3 machine. Yes? Or
Yes. What happens is
they do both.
They do both. It happens.
Okay.
They pick
So
up.
everybody goes through the magnometer, and then afterwards, a sampling will go through the L3. When we talk about best practices, because we concur that for everybody to go through the magnometer and the L3 would slow up the arrivals. could we say, or do we know that best practices have taught us that random samplings of things can be a deterrent? When we do things, if someone or if a group wants to bring in contraband and they are aware that they could possibly be searched with the L3, might that be a deterrent?
It's always a deterrent for, and let me make sure I was clear about going to the front gate.
Okay.
So, we use, every person has to go through the magnometer and randomly the L3 will select. Like I went there the other day and I was selected out of the blue. But everyone goes through a magnometer and all their property is put on the line scan footage to be viewed by the front gate officer. So to answer your question, yes, it will, any type of electronic devices that will make a person want to think possibly.
Think
that
twice, and
deterrent.
my point is, it's sufficient.
Correct.
My point is, currently, it is sufficient.
Is it enhanced?
Yes.
L3 is enhanced in our technology, yes.
Right. And it can be, and with it being random, it is a deterrent.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Yes. And currently, magnometer and random L3 is sufficient, and it is a deterrent.
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay, I thought, just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I just want to close on this. If, again, when you get the follow-up from Ms. Sherman, the deterrent will show that the number has gone down of the hits that we got. So we'll appreciate that information.
You'll be providing us with the number of hits, the number of, the amount of contraband,
We will
positive
provide a follow-up.
contrabands for each entering the jail. That would be very helpful to understand the efficacy of this program.
Yes, Dr. Bowen, we provide a follow-up.
I hope I wasn't confusing. Was I? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, are there any other questions? You?
I was curious as to recruiting efforts and whether it was keeping up with attrition.
No. Our attrition is high and our recruitment number is low, but we're working with our city leadership to increase our efforts and recruit more candidates to apply for the New York City Department of Correction. We have a very robust intricate way in which how we do it. We have a recruitment unit that goes out, and I will pass it on to Dr. Johnson to answer that question.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Jeremiah Johnson. I'm the Acting Deputy Commissioner of Training and Development. My division, Training and Development Division, has the recruitment unit, which is comprised of 6 correction officers and a correction captain. During the open exam registration period, which runs until June 6th, they're out participating in multiple events, both traditional job seeker events, but we're also targeting community events for engagement and also doing tablings in public spaces that are most likely to bring us into contact with potential job seekers.
I just want to add also our applicant investigation unit. So once we have the test, I just indicated that we have a new test period now. But what we've found is that with our applicant investigation unit, we've tried to maintain communication with candidates. What we see is once you engage with people and you let them know what's happening, they actually end up coming through the door. So our last test, we had about 2,266 people register. We had 766 passers. And what we've learned in our yield rate, that will just probably come down to 84 people coming through the door. right? So we're working with our partners to see how we can sort of encourage people to join the department. We're making it clear as to what are the benefits for working at the department. And so this is sort of like a citywide effort. So that's why I shared what I shared initially. And we welcome the board also to partner with us on ensuring that we have candidates walking through the door. So much.
Commissioner, thank you. How would you represent your yield of that 84 to your forecast?
And this is basically the percentage that are what we've seen post-COVID. So prior to COVID, our yield rate was a lot higher. And so again, with so many other people taking tests for other city agencies, we've seen sort of like that drop off. So what we've done on our end is making sure that we're communicating with people, letting them know what events we're having. And also, even if we can, we're looking at even some of the things that were in place that we can remove as barriers in terms of equity. For instance, having a driver's license or a driver's permit. People live in New York City, we're taking the subway. So those are the things we're kind of looking to make sure that we're not creating barriers to onboarding new candidates here at DOC.
Thank you. Board Member Ramos and Vice Chair Hoskins.
Commissioner, I had the privilege of seeing your recruitment team in action this last weekend.
Okay.
And they were as sharp as all hell. And they were very well received. The total amount of people that were at the Bronx Community College Run the Bronx event was 2,000. And they were very busy recruiting. Not only that, but they also recruited in the route. So that, you know, they were very busy. And I'm sure that the college has pictures of them in action over there. They were excellent. But also, I like to piggyback that I had the opportunity and the honor of attending one of your events over at Rikers Island, and it was the graduation, the Columbia graduation of music. And to see and witness 18 persons who are in custody getting their first certificates in their lives really gave me goose pimples. But what really, really made my day was to see your staff, the instructors, the inmates, the correction officers, all working together, gelling, and working as a family. And not only that, but what broke my heart was to see the mothers and the wives and the children crying to see their father get a certificate in jail, by the way. And I had the opportunity of talking to the inmates' families, and you don't know all the beautiful things that I was able to grasp in terms of their relationship, not only with their sons that were receiving the certificate, and this was a certificate, first certificate that they ever got in their lives, but also to even start thinking about going to continue their education. But they were excellent. And I think you should, I'd like to mention the fact that your public affairs people were there, and Ali Robinson's staff was there. And I had the opportunity to talk to a person that came from Trinidad and knew the people that I knew that knew how to play the steel drum band. And not only that, but also possibly even think about the idea of bringing a steel drum band to Rikers Island.
Well, I'm Antiguan and I know about the steel pan.
Excuse me?
I'm Antiguan, so I know about
Oh,
the
so
steel pan,
you
so
know-
we can
so
probably
you
get
know
that
how-
in
so
there.
We
Yes,
know the rhythm.
yes, yes.
Okay, the other thing is that I was also, you know that I've always been asking and questioning why there's no publicity. Well, I just noticed, I've been watching the newspapers again, and finally, I'm looking in the television and I'm seeing positive publicity in the Department of Correction. And the one that I'm excited about the most is the fact that you now have a newsletter as well. And you also published a fact that there was a correction officer who saved a life. I think that on our death reports, we should also add the lives that the uniform people save at Rikers Island. Lastly, and you don't know what I personally think that what this newsletter would do for morale in the Department of Correction that is needed so much. And the last thing is that to also see that we took care of the inmates that were ex-veterans in a veterans, reception with their families is fantastic, because that takes you a tremendous amount, and they will share that information with the people at home. So I'm seeing positive publicity, and finally, about time that they're writing positive things about the Department of Correction in the newspaper and on TV. So I just wanted to bring that up, and it makes my day when I see that instead of reading all the negatives that are being brought up to you in all the meetings.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Ramos. Before I go to Jude and Vice Chair Hoskins, I'd just like to say I attended along with Board Member Pitts that ceremony. And as Board Member Ramos indicates, it was a very moving event. And I'd like to thank one of your staff members that's here, John Carlos, for assisting in that effort as well. So,
Well, that's right. That's John right there.
yeah, it was very, very positive programming. We talk about programming and the effects of programming. This was one that was measured in my mind. And to see the young children, the parents, it's just moving, it's moving. So thank you for that. And I'm sure you do lots more that's not noted. And if we see more of that, that really helps us make our decisions on how we move forward. So thank you. Jude.
Just want to say thank you for your efforts. It's my humble opinion that adequate staffing would really alleviate some of the department's issues. I had a question about parity in terms of pay with NYPD. Is that a thing?
No,
No.
that's not a thing. I mean, the job is challenging. So that is, in terms of parity, we're actually, I think we pay a little bit more than NYPD.
Okay.
So again, we're evaluating every single possible thing you can think of to ensure that we're onboarding candidates. And so your concern, it's that's what keeps me up at night, to be honest.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to follow up, because I do concur with you that staffing is a huge issue of how we move people, how things go around. And when you talked about 700 and something passing the test and only 84 come through the door, and talking about partnering with the board, what do you see as the contributing factor? Because there shows an interest that some people took the test and passed, but they don't seem, is that through background checks or different things, or just time that people move on?
I think it's a sort of variety of issues. And so that's sort of like what we're trying to stem. If, before it was sort of like if you're passing the agility, if you're passing other tests, once you've actually passed the test, there are other requirements for the job. And so that's why I'm taking a look at overall those requirements to determine if we still need to keep them in place. And so that's what's ongoing. And ensuring there's equity too, if people aren't able to, for instance, the driver's license. Yeah.
Commissioner, some of those requirements have already been lessened. The education requirement a couple of years ago was
Correct.
cut
It
back.
was just lessened with
Yes.
the
So I
college
hope
credits.
not anymore in terms of that, in terms of the background checks. I would hope that there wouldn't be certain crimes that you don't allow your staff to have committed to hire them would not be added. I'm not sure exactly how you change the background.
I'm not adding anything else. I'm listening at this point, Dr. Cohen. Okay.
I think that one of the things that the Department of Correction has stopped is going out to so-called park concerts and going out and recruiting with a shovel concept. They're looking for quality. And sometimes what happens is in recruiting for uniformed forces, you always have to get a certain amount of people in order to be able to average a certain amount to come in. and through the processes. You could recruit, 700 people, but by the time you get somebody to come in, you're down to about 100. And that's because there's a lot of things that contribute to the people being NQ'd in order to be able to come into the department.
Yes.
Okay, if there are no further questions, at this time, I would like to have the department present the plan for reopening EMTC Recreation Yard and plan for addressing staffing issues for recreation at RNDC.
You want to go first?
Chief, if you have more comments, please.
Okay, I'll go first with RNDC. As a prior statement I made, testimony to, I think it was in February, that RNDC, you asked concerning a staffing issue. We went back and looked back at it. It's not so much a staffing issue, it's infrastructure as well. So what we did do is use our Correctional Intelligence Bureau along with the facilities security team as well as the Office of Security to see if we can commingle some of the persons in custody we have because of the SRG affiliation. Far too often we cannot put them together, so we have to make sure that once that is completed, and we've been doing it since February, it has been working pretty good. So in hopes of when the DC Ben comes up, he'll give you an outline of EMTC, and we hope to mirror that in RNDC for those yards as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. DC Ben, Facility Suite. We have a preview of the yard right now that's currently underway. These are some before pictures. That is the rec yard, the main north rec yard at EMTC. Go on to the next one. This is during construction to show progress. Again, this is during construction as well, showing how much we had to actually remove, dig down, level, grade. Go ahead. This was paving completed, all of blacktopping throughout the entire yard was done weeks ahead of schedule. This is our security fencing that is now being installed, dividing the yards into quads. So, and like I would like to say, we are ahead of schedule based on all of our stoppages with finance and all the stuff going on throughout the city. We are moving forward with it, and we already have, like Chief mentioned, we already started the same type of process going forward with construction drawings, figuring out the layout for RNDC, and moving forward with that plans as not to be delayed. So, thank you. Any questions? Sorry, any questions?
I have. I do. Thank you for that update. And just, can you remind us when the construction will be complete at EMTC based on the current schedule?
So the current schedule has us being finished at the end of June to be 100% complete, but we're shooting for prior to that. We're moving every opportunity we get, we're moving to speed it up as much as possible.
Great. Thank you. I also wanted to go back to the overall approach of dividing the recreation yard and just ask for any feedback you have from how things have been working at OBCC with the divided yards, and also ask you to compare the size of the divided yards at OBCC to what's planned and under construction at EMTC.
So generally, the yards are about the same size. It's to provide the minimal standards that we need to for each facility. And the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive that multiple houses are able to go down at once. So more rec, more happiness.
Great. And what is the size of the yards at OBCC?
I don't know off the top of my head. Sorry, I can find that out.
Thank you.
on the more rec, more happiness chain. What, relative to what you're describing, I thought one of the best ways to help you recruit more correction officers and to make people happier is to close down Rikers Island, and because it's a miserable place for it to work. And there have been discussions about, I mean, we've been informed about questions about the recreation capacity of the proposed new buildings, not providing open violations, essentially ignoring the board rule requiring access to air and sky, and building interior exercise areas in each floor. Can you comment on that? And do you think people will be happy?
I can comment. Legally, we are providing, as our legally defined open air, we are providing open air. PBJ is my project, it's one of my facilities. So we are providing open outdoor air rec as described on the law.
And is there room for basketball courts in those areas?
Excuse me, Dr. Cohen, could we stay in line of questioning to the presentation and the comments by the department? I don't think we were on the BBJ at this point.
Oh, good. Yeah, I thought we were discussing recreation, but I'll yield to you, Chair.
Thank you. Trust me, it'll be plenty of time to discuss in detail your concerns and thoughts regarding recreation and BBJ.
I would appreciate that this item be placed on the agenda because we received documentation about it. And there have been discussions about the adequacy of what's being planned. So if we could just have it on our next agenda meeting. I was told it was going to be on this agenda meeting, but maybe we could have it on the next one.
So noted. We will have that discussion with staff to ensure that we get this to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Jasmine.
Aye.
I had a question about how many people in custody can fit into the subdivided yards.
I'm not sure that answer. I'd find out information and give it to you
Okay.
at a later time. Good.
Okay, so if there's no other questions or comments from the department, I'd like to say thank you.
There's no other questions. Thank you. Oh, sorry. If you don't have any more further questions, I don't know. Sit next to the commissioner.
Thank you very much, Chief and Commissioner. So I guess CHS, just 1 second, CHS, our executive director wants to comment on staff follow-up.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Dr. Cohen had asked when we received the PIC comments. So I just wanted to note that our staff did follow up about 3 weeks ago with the facility, the AC of the jail at GRVC, and she is actually working on it, and some of the issues have been remedied. But staff can provide a full update for the board in the coming weeks.
That's great.
And I can also meet with the commissioner to give her an update on the existing issues before your visit. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine.
CHS, please.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Beepin Subedi, the Chief Medical Officer for Correctional Health Services. I'm here with two of my colleagues, Nancy Arias, our Chief Nursing Officer, and Zach Rosner, who is our Chief of Medicine.
Excuse me 1 second. Forgive me for my oversight. I think that our executive director has to provide some backdrop.
Oh,
of
sorry.
CHS.
Sorry. We'll hold.
Report. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I was just going to provide the board and the public with some context before you give your presentation. So the board has asked CHF to share updates regarding its efforts to implement the recommendations issued by the board through its deaths in custody reporting and any impediments to implementation. Specifically, the board has asked CHS to address recommendations concerning alternate means of communicating medical emergencies between housing areas and clinics, notification to DOC staff if CHS staff observe people in custody using or exchanging contraband, and improved information sharing between CHS and DOC regarding missed medical appointments. And I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. So a lot of the recommendations from the board center around our emergency response protocols, as well as our efforts in harm reduction for overdose. So we're going to start off with those topics. Dr. Rosner is going to present on those two subjects, and then we're around to answer any other questions.
Hi, thanks. Thanks so much, Beepin. And so I'll just go through a little context on emergency responses in the New York City jail system, as well as some of the substance use services that maybe touch on aspects of what the board has asked about previously. So just to briefly go over the emergency responses, CHS has a robust health service, and our health service is providing a mix of primary care, specialty care, injury visits, a wide range of things related to health and safety from a public health perspective, and then of course takes very seriously the responses to emergencies in the jail system. In our system, the entire medical staff, people who provide care, nurses and doctors, PAs, and nurse practitioners are trained in basic life support and maintain certification and credentialing. Physicians, PAs, nurse practitioners are also certified in ACLS and must maintain that to work in the jails. That's advanced cardiac life support. In general, the first response involves the clinical team responding and evaluating patients in the jail system, and really prioritized as a consistent, comprehensive, in-person, prompt evaluation, so that the clinical teams know what is needed to further respond to the medical emergency. So it's really a tiered layer of response. There's a first response for primary providers coming from a clinic to a housing area. There's a system in place for in-facility backup so that additional providers can respond from clinic spaces. Urgent care is a group of board-certified physicians who are present on Rikers Island 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They can be called when advanced interventions in the field are needed. And FDNY EMS is also located on the island, and in instances where someone needs to be presented to the hospital, FDNY becomes involved. And so you can see a wide range of emergency responses from low acuity housing area-based responses where one team can safely bring somebody back to a clinic for further treatment, as well as the more advanced interventions that may be needed with urgent care or FDNY. Just to present some basic data on the emergency responses, in 2023, there were over 4,500 emergency responses in the New York City jails. 18% of these resulted in a hospital transfer, and 6% of the total emergency responses resulted in admission to the hospital. So out of the over 4,500 responses, about 229 ultimately required a hospital admission. In general, our goal is to mirror or be better than the community response time. So we aim for about 8 to 10 minutes, which is similar to community-based responses. And generally, our data reflect a 6-minute response time on average across these emergencies. We also do unannounced facility-based drills, and also see a similar response time on those drills. Separately, a number of educational initiatives that are internal beyond the BLS and ACLS training take place. We have an interdisciplinary committee of educators from the medicine service, educators from the nursing service, representatives from the simulation lab that we work with, representatives from the urgent care doctors who meet on a regular basis, monthly or every other month, and talk through simulation trainings based on provider needs, general days that are kind of open to all clinic staff. The nursing team does a great job organizing simulation days for our staff, as well as in-facility teaching and materials for our DOC colleagues, such as a Palm card to help improve standardization of fast emergency responses. Next slide, please. Just to move on to substance use services, I think presentations have been given to the board in the past, but CHS has extensive efforts to mitigate the risks of untreated substance use disorders, as well as the risk of potential overdose in the jail as there's potential in the community. This includes a comprehensive screening at intake by nurses and doctor or PAs for anybody's history of substance use disorder. In 2023, of 22,000 admissions to the jail system, 3,468 patients were identified as having an opioid use disorder and received a prescription for medicines to treat withdrawal symptoms. As mentioned, through that intake screening process and treatment of acute withdrawal, patients are referred to the KEEP program, which is the, sorry, next slide, please. KEEP is the nation's oldest and largest jail-based opioid treatment program in the country. 96% of patients referred from intake are seen. Some patients are released early before the staff have a chance to see them, and the majority of these are within 7 days of admission. Through KEEP, CHS can provide any FDA-approved medicine for treatment of opioid use disorder, the primary ones being methadone and buprenorphine, which are agonist therapies that are really critical to saving lives and preventing overdoses in the jails. KEEP will identify and counsel patients who may have also experienced a non-fatal overdose in the jails. We see that as a potential chance to intervene and provide teaching to patients. And in between April 2023 and 2024, as these post-overdose outreach visits were started, over 178 sessions have taken place. As mentioned before, the medication-assisted treatment, such as methadone or buprenorphine, meets all regulatory requirements and is certified as a jail-based opioid treatment program. MAT protocols for administering meds involve nurses administering medications to the patient, with DOC providing support by ensuring that patients take medications and don't walk away from the window. And that's a significant operation with the size of the number of people needing treatment in the jail system. CHS has done a lot of harm reduction work as well in the New York City jail system. And so I'll touch on naloxone, which has been a long project and goes back almost a decade from our perspective. CHS launched an initiative the most recent updates really are that in 2021, CHS launched an initiative to provide naloxone to housing areas so that it can be directly available on units if needed. And DOC has been a partner in just making sure that patients can get access to those naloxone kits. At the time of rollout, we trained a significant number of patients throughout the jails in how to use naloxone, and we continue to supply that naloxone to the housing areas. And we regularly replenish when we get communications from DOC that a kit was used or that our records reflect that an emergency response involved an overdose. We also do training through a number of means. Patients can receive it directly through requests to nursing, through the health triage line or other measures. All patients who are enrolled in the opioid treatment program are offered training for naloxone and advised on how to access naloxone if they leave the jail system and need it in the community. Also, patients who have experienced potential overdose events are trained. And when CHS presents, we reinforce a lot of the teaching that DOC referenced before for naloxone training for their staff, and we appreciate that partnership. Just to continue, we do publish on the website the rates of possible overdose events. In 2024, February 2024, there were 36 such events that translated to a monthly rate of 5.79 per 1,000 average daily population. There's a naloxone frequently asked questions page, which is available on tablets. Reentry liaisons have had many years providing access to naloxone through the Rikers Island Visit House. And since the CHS Reentry Center opened in July of 2023, over 10,000 naloxone kits have been distributed. Since 2016, there have been over 64,000 kits distributed to patients leaving jail or family members visiting them who may be at risk of witnessing an overdose and are interested. That's just a brief overview of some of the areas that our services have put efforts in related to emergency responses and substance use. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes. Thank you for your presentation. First of all, prior to December 2021, do you have any data with regard to death and serious injuries since you introduced knock-along?
Yeah, well, just to clarify a little bit, naloxone has been part of our emergency responses from the primary teams, the medical teams responding for many years, probably over a decade. And so that 6-minute response time historically means that we were also carrying naloxone to the scenes. Distributing in the housing areas in 2021 was really we were one of the first places, one of the first correctional settings in the country to do that. LA had a program, but otherwise it's pretty rare, and correctional settings can become concerned about distributing things like medications in housing areas, and we appreciate the partnership and making sure this is available as quickly as possible. And so I'm sorry, I provide a little context to the fact that naloxone was previously available. The question, I think, related to what were rates of overdose prior to 2021. I don't know if we have that here, but I'd be happy to work with our teams to see if we can get a sense. I don't know.
Yeah, just on a related note, we do track how much Narcan is being administered in the system since 2020 to now, when it's increased significantly. I think it's on our website. In 2020, it's about 77 incidents where Narcan was used, and I think last year it was in the several hundreds. And so I think that is correlated, we assume, with preservation of life and stopping fatal overdoses, but we don't have the specific information about pre and post in terms of deaths.
My last question on response time, 6 minutes, you said, is, I guess, the goal, or is that the average?
Yeah, we
in a medical emergency, what's the typical response time to preserve life? What would you say?
So I mean, in the community, often a lot of community responses have medical people on site in that sort of 8 to 10 to 12-minute range, I think. And I would have to go to places like FDNY data to really confirm that. But, you know, obviously the first response for anything is timely initiation of basic life support. That's BLS training. That's what really our DOC partners talked about, how officers are also trained in basic life support, and all of our staff are trained in basic life support. And so really initiation of that basic life support is the key as soon as possible. Many scenarios don't need chest compressions, don't need pulmonary support. The over 4,500 responses, this is still very, very rare. That advanced levels of life support are needed. And so really key is driving home the importance of maintaining training, basic life support training, credentialing, and maintaining our certifications, having quick responses, and then assessing when we need a higher level response.
My last thought is what can be done to maybe enhance response time? And I think back to a visit recently, I think I had at OBCC, where there was a clinic that wasn't staffed as of yet. Is that something you're looking at to reduce response time or maintain average response time?
Our general feeling is that staffing levels are prepared to respond to these types of emergencies around the clock. We expect that of our systems, and we have staggered shifts and things like that where we have staff available at any time of the day. There's always room for improvement. The jails are very large, and you're covering a population of 6,000 people in settings that are really varied, some involving stairs, some involving outdoor travel. So it can be a complicated place to make sure, and we're always open to thoughts from.
I would like a review maybe of OBCC and the satellite clinic. I think that after speaking to a number of staff there, that there were really some concerns and how that additional annex could provide additional support in the medical area. Am I citing the right facility? I believe it's OBCC.
Yeah, I think we are always open to working together, on any issues that if they come up. OBCC in particular is a very large place and very long distances from the main clinic to some of the housing areas. We depend, collaboratively with the Department of Correction to ensure that we have escorts and access to housing areas and that our communication is tight. So wherever there are chances to tighten up any collaboration, we are always open to that.
So for our next board meeting, if we can provide an update on OBCC and annex.
Yes, and maybe before the meeting, we can look into what data is available and
Thank you.
check.
Any other questions, board member?
Oh, I do have a
Sure.
question. Yes. Could you speak a little bit more to the protocols and guidelines regarding DOT medication administration and observation, and also specifically what happens when an individual who has DOT misses a session, misses administration of medication, what the follow-up is?
So just to be clear, with methadone administration is medication-assisted treatment versus direct observation therapy. They're two distinct things. Direct observation therapy would be like for our Librium, controlled substances that providers put as direct observation therapy. Those patients come into the clinic and they sit down with the nurse. It's a different process than what's happening with methadone. When methadone, our patients come to the window, the nurses observe with DOC as their partners and making sure their medication is taken. So that's what happens at the window. If there's any concern, we have a diversion protocol that will advise our staff how to follow up, and our partners in KEEP will follow up with our patients, as well does DOC escalate if there's any concern around the diversion of that medication at the window at any given time. As far as missing medication, so we have a process, a quality assurance process, that on the next business day, our nursing service follows up with the patients, checks their record to see whether or not they missed a dose, and then we escalate to our services within our services, and our KEEP service will follow up with the patient and inquire as to what is the status and why they may not have gone to the window to receive their medication.
And that's the same for DOT and for...
That we do have the same protocol with direct observation therapy, but with direct observation therapy, we're working with our medical team. Our site medical directors will follow up, and our health services providers will also follow up to have DOC follow up and bring our patients down as quickly as they can.
Thank you.
Just to speak a little bit briefly, Nancy gave a great summary and there's distinction between the site medical directors and the opioid treatment program doctors and counselors who may be responding to different types of issues. And we do get daily reports of missed methadone. I think in general, you find that production, people attending to receive the methadone and buprenorphine doses is significantly higher than other types of production requests. And I think that's about a balance around priorities, sometimes of patients too.
I haven't heard it. I've heard no complaints, but could you describe the process of escorts and how that's working out in terms of what you need?
Do you want to speak to that?
So as far as the nursing service, I have to say we have a phenomenal partnership with the Department of Corrections. Our production, like Dr. Rosner said, for MAT, a handful of individuals don't actually get produced to the care. And for our clinics, we work very closely in partnership. DOC understands the importance of these daily instances that have to be given to our patients. So our production is very good when it comes to that. And any challenges, again, we get very supported with our health service administrators to communicate with the Department of Corrections and expedite those persons that clinically need to be produced to our patient clinically.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you very much, CHS.
Thank you.
There are no COBA updates today. They will be on the agenda again for next board meeting. So we'll go right. We'll now hear comments from the public.
Thank you. So we have 3 in-person comments and 2 people online. I'll start with the in-person. First speaker is Anissa Saber.
Good afternoon, board members and guests. My name is Anissa Sabor. I'm a solitary survivor, and I'm here today to say thank you. Thank you for putting these rules in place that will save lives. This law, Local 42, will save lives, not only for people who are currently incarcerated, but for our staff that work there as well. And I just wanted to say thank you because I know that this is something that has to be done. It's not an easy task to do, and I get it. But as a survivor, I know how hard it is for people who experienced it. We don't want to lose any more lives. The gentleman said it, right? This needs to be closed. But in the interim of closing it, we need to think about how do we save human lives. And so I just want to say again, thank you for thinking about making these rules that will make everybody much safer. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chaplain Dr. Victoria A. Phillips. Dr. V.
You're so close to everybody. Peace and blessings, everyone. I'm Chaplain Dr. Victoria A. Phillips, also known as Dr. V, and years prior known as Miss V. However, at no time in my 13 years of testifying regarding New York City Department of Corrections have I ever been referred to or referred myself as inmate advocate. So to do so is an outright insult to those detained, myself, and my ministry. Today I speak alone, solely representing myself. Proverbs 6:16. These 6 things do the Lord hate, yea, 7 are abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. New York City is at a critical time and at a critical moment in time. We have the ability to make an impactful imprint on the nation and beyond. Through leadership, we can begin to bridge divides and create a space for honest dialogue. Having worked for decades behind correctional walls, my safety and wellness are non-negotiable. Over the years, I have raised and highlighted grievances from the island, boat, and borough facilities. I've advocated at City Council for the board's budget and DOI to be expanded, more officers for programming and access. Never in all my years have I been 100% sure that this leadership was aware of an officer's lie until now. If the grievance process is non-existent outside of correctional walls from a valid complainant such as myself, how are we to believe oversight and this board is following up on those placed from behind the walls? I ask this because on January 10th, 2024, after testifying in this room, I was approached and spoken to in a threatening manner. I was baited, but little did the officer know that I am a registered national court-approved and certified anger management specialist. In fact, I train law enforcement officers who themselves need assistance in emotional intelligence and impulse. So the rise that she thought would come from me was never received. I'm an Army brat. I follow protocol. Chair, you yourself told me you saw what happened and that Benny was going to have to handle that. I said yes because the behavior is only escalating. It was the reason he didn't bring them to a meeting that happened the week before, which you also know about. Emboldened, illegal, and dangerous behavior. If I didn't work in behavioral health for 20 years, I never believed the levels of deceit going on. I'm appalled at this leadership and embarrassed for my own representation of people. I have time and dates for my outreach to Benny, and I want to disclose that in a court of law if needed, including other officers' names who were around and aware of these engagements. And I even notified the commissioner's right hand and was told, thank you for letting her know. So what does grievance process actually look like for those detained? Because if I was behind walls January 10th and responding to threatening actions and words, I would be in solitary, punitive segregation. Psalms 105:15 saying, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. January 10th, incident occurred in this very room. February 28th, I reported on the record, and a BOC member, Pitts, asked me, why don't I let it go? March 12th, I responded with details of another individual threatened by the same officer who made a police report. And lastly, reached out to me, was also threatened not to finish their testimony. And I'll finish by saying this. They were threatened not to finish their testimony, but you, Chair, never followed up with me. And you allowed Second Vice President Keisha Williams to lie on me on the record while you knew the truth. So now I ask you, where's your moral compass? And I now welcome you to also lie on me on the record so I can hold you accountable in the court of law. Peace and blessings.
Thank you. Just for the record. This board doesn't, we have enough politics of our own. If transactions occurred during this session, when we open our session and prior to our adjournment, we will address any and every issue appropriate. Outside of this meeting is not our jurisdiction. But during this meeting, it is. And I'll leave it right there. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mary Busser. Thank you. So we'll move to the online commenters. The first is Mary Lynn Whirlwis.
Hi, am I unmuted yet?
Hi.
Hi, thank you. Sorry for the unmuting. I'm Mary Lynn Whirlwis. I'm the director of the Prisoners' Rights Project of the Legal Aid Society. And first off, I want to thank the board members and board staff who have been at GRVC, who are going to GRVC and other parts of the jails this week to provide real-time oversight for the complaints that today's callers distressingly reported from the board. We also very much look forward to reading your proposed rules on implementing local law 42 and curbing the inhumanity of DOC's legacy solitary confinement practices. You stand on the shoulders of many board members over many years who have sought to curb these abuses. And we very much hope that this finally does it. We wanted to address two issues relating to the board's agenda items today, relating to implementation of recommendations regarding the deaths in custody and recreation. Because we did not hear in any of the presentations any fundamental grappling with some of the root causes of the problems that underpin both defaults. A persistent theme in deaths in custody and in recreation has been the absence of staff where they're needed and when they are needed. We have not heard DOC grapple with its fundamental unwillingness or inability to deploy its workforce in the jails where they're needed, to get staff on post and staying on post. On post, stay on post. This is Corrections 101. And why is that a seemingly intractable problem with this agency? One area that we commend to your attention to look at, and it is only one, but is DOC's reliance on awarded posts. And let me tell you what that practice is. This doesn't mean steady assignment of an officer to a housing area or a given post. It means a labor agreement by which a staff member is granted an entitlement to a specific post. And what this does is it ties DOC's hands and precludes it from redeploying staff where they are needed, to the yard for RNDC, at RNDC, for escorts, for essential services, to housing areas that are short a member. This board should not countenance any staffing excuses for failures to meet these minimum standards when DOC is not using the managerial tools it has to deploy its staff correctly. A final word on recreation. Enough is enough. People need to be outside in the yard, getting sunshine, getting fresh air, and getting rec. This is a basic human need. The data is clear that DOC is not meeting it. And the board should be issuing notices of violation for this deficiency and, crucially, examining the plans for the borough-based jails, which at present, still for Brooklyn, do not allow for outdoor rec. And we encourage your continued attention to this matter going forward so we don't replicate these abuses in new jails. Thanks very much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Danielle Gerard.
Danielle, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. I didn't realize I was unmuted. My name's Danielle Gerard. I'm a senior staff attorney at Children's Rights. We are a national organization that advocates on behalf of youth and state systems in the city on behalf of young adults on Rikers. We look forward to reading the rules on Thursday and hope they incorporate the actual language of Local Law 42, given the administration's slow walking the steps to close Rikers and the prevalence of executive orders instead of compliance with the minimum standards. We urge the board to ensure that Local Law 42 be followed to the letter. We have additional concerns and suggestions to make Rikers as safe as possible until the time when it is shuttered, specifically to avoid attempts to do an end run around Local Law 42. Any such attempts would be particularly harmful to youth on Rikers up to 25 years old. First, the department should revise its categorization of young adults to include all youth from ages 18 to 25, not just up to 21. We urge the board to exclude young people 18 to 25 by punitive segregation by any name. Neuroscience research has found that the brain, including the frontal lobe, which regulates judgment, reasoning, decision-making, impulsivity, and emotions, is not fully mature until the early to mid-20s. Young people up to 25 have unique needs and face a serious risk of harm if subjected to chronic adverse experiences such as excessive isolation while in custody. Second, solitary confinement is inappropriate for older youth up to age 25. Local Law 42 recognizes the devastating consequences of excessive isolation on incarcerated persons. The board should fully incorporate the law's language into its rulemaking. Other forms of solitary confinement must be abolished as part of this process, including RMAS, ESH, and secure unit. Older youth up to 25 should always have 14 hours a day out of cell time in accordance with Local Law 42. Third, adequate and quality programming, education, mental health services, and recreation are essential to improving conditions in the city's jails. The department must take meaningful steps to fulfill the stated mission of the Young Adult Plan to provide all young adults in DOC custody with comprehensive, individualized, outcome-oriented jail and community-based services in safe environments. Fourth, Training is critical for effectively working with older youth up to age 25. Department staff do not have the appropriate training and skills to work with young adults. No one benefits from continuing to warehouse older youth without regard to their developmental needs and the opportunities to promote positive outcomes. The department must provide corrections staff specific, developmentally appropriate, ongoing training that recognizes that young adults up to age 25 are different from older adults. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, Chair and committee members. We urge you to read our testimony regarding the new rules that we will submit for the June 17th meeting.
Okay, that concludes our public comments. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who attended and participated in today's meeting. Again, to meet the rulemaking deadline under local law 42, the board's June meeting will be rescheduled to take place on Tuesday, June 25th, 2024 at 1 p.m. Also, as mentioned, the board will hold a hearing on proposed rules implementing requirements of local law 42 on Monday, June 17th, 2024 at 1 p.m. That being said, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
There's two opposed? Okay, I'll say all in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Or any opposed?
No.
Okay. Without any objection, the meeting is now adjourned.